Shalom. Let's move now to Psalm 131, a very brief psalm of only 3 verses, one of the 15 Psalms of Ascent. A song of ascents of David. O Lord, my heart is not proud, nor my look haughty. I do not aspire to great things or to what is beyond me, but I have taught myself to be contented, like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child am I in my mind. O Israel, wait for the Lord, now and forever. I am teaching a class in the community Jewish high school in the greater Fairfield Bridgeport area called Judaism and Addiction. And last night in this Zoom class with my students, I talked about American Jewish life and the phenomenon of what it has meant to be an American Jew from our immigrant roots proceeding through the 20th century, now into the 21st century. I reflected with them about the meaning of the American dream, how successful we were as a culture and a religious civilization in becoming part and parcel of the American cultural life and achieving great measures of success, if you measure success in terms of financial achievement, career advancement, and so on and so forth. And in the process of that discussion, I told them what happens to the outliers and what happens to those who actually are left behind, who are not able to keep up, who are not able to meet with the accepted, prescribed measure of success the way we understand it in our culture. And what can often happen with such people is, in feeling left behind, they can feel shame, embarrassment, a sense of failure, and that can all lead to mood disorders like depression, anxiety, and so on and so forth. And when people are experiencing that kind of melancholia, it is common to be vulnerable or more susceptible to self-medicating. And self-medication often done by use of alcohol or illicit drugs. And that's the discussion that we had last night in the context of my trying to show them that addiction is a problem in our American Jewish culture, just as it is a problem in other cultures, religious and ethnic groups in our society. Jews are not immune. And the old myth about Jews do not use, or somehow the idea that Jews are above the problem of addiction, or Jewish alcoholics, Jewish addicts, how can that possibly be? That is simply a myth. It is not true. And my point to our class, to our students last night was our cultural and religious and familial expectations that we put on our young people and on each other can often be damaging, especially to those who fail to meet those expectations. We are taught in this kind of way of thinking, this success and achievement-oriented culture, to always shoot higher, to try to aspire to something greater than we even can imagine for ourselves in the present moment. If we feel like we're doing well and achieving a lot, we should try to achieve more. We should shoot ever higher. And we should always aspire to do great things. Here comes the psalmist then saying, I do not aspire to great things. Velo hilachti bigdolot. Gadol means great. I don't aspire to be great. Uveniflaot mimeni, or to accomplish things that are greater than me. Niflaot can mean wonders, marvels. I don't imagine that I'm so great that I can do wondrous things in that way. My heart is not proud, my look is not haughty. The psalmist says, have taught myself to be contented like a weaned child with its mother. In other words, now as the child has been undergoing the weaning process, the child has probably been experiencing heightened anxiety and fear and discomfort as it weans off its mother's breast and is trying to learn to live more independently of the breastfeeding. But there are times when the child, not having the mother's breast, not having access to the mother's milk, is feeling a loss, maybe fear, maybe anxious at how and when is the child going to get her or his next meal. But now that the weaning is complete and the child knows that the process has succeeded, that now the child can get along without feeding from his mother's breast. He eats by being given food outside of that, and he feels content. He feels calm in his mind. In an earlier psalm, Psalm 16, we had the verse in verse 8, Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. Translated here, I am ever mindful of the Lord's presence. And this phrase is often found inscribed over the arks in synagogues or on the walls of synagogues, usually on the pulpit or on the bima in the front, reminding all the worshipers to be ever mindful of God's presence, to remind them as to their true purpose for being in that sacred space in worship. And here we have a similar word, im lo shiviti v'domamti nafshi. Here it means, but I have taught myself to be contented. Not referring here to the Lord directly, but referring to the idea or the simile of a weaned child with its mother, feeling that measure of contentment. Where does the Lord fit in then? In the earlier verse, I am ever mindful of the Lord, Shiviti, Adonai lenegdi tamid, and here, Shiviti, I have taught myself to be contented like a weaned child. But then we have the final verse, verse 3, which is the same as the final verse in Psalm 130, not the final rather, but verse 7, the penultimate verse. Yachel Yisrael el Adonai, 130, Psalm 130, verse 7, and here, Psalm 131, verse 3, Yachel Yisrael el Adonai, same verse, O Israel, wait for the Lord. But then here's something interesting to me, the very last phrase of this psalm, Me'ata v'ad olam, now and forever. Wait for the Lord, now and forever. I need to feel content with my lot and not feel like I always have to strive to overachieve and do more and achieve great things in my life. It's enough to try to live a life waiting for the Lord, keeping the Lord's presence foremost in my mind, trying to do mitzvot and good deeds and honor my tradition and care for my fellow human beings. But then that last phrase, now and forever. If I'm waiting for the Lord now, that makes sense. But waiting for the Lord forever? The way I understand this meaning I will wait for the Lord now, and even if it takes forever, I will continue to wait for the Lord. Even if I don't reach my ultimate goal of God essentially taking over my life and turning me into a holy, completely holy H-O-L-Y and holy W-H-O-L-L-Y, completely contented and serene human being, even if it takes, because the waiting in itself is worthwhile. The value is in the process, not in the goal. Thank you.